Hello and welcome to Master Manual, a practical guide for DMs, GMs, and just wanna BMs and other folks too. This is a podcast where we answer questions and talk about role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, but mostly from a DM's perspective. Who are you?
I'm Cohen.
Who am I?
You're Spencer.
Who are you?
Still Cohen. Wait, hold on.
Oh. I'm getting word.
I'm Nito, Ernie, just like you.
Many people are saying he's Nito.
It's a thing that Bert said in a little Sesame Street child book that I had when I was a child.
What do you mean?
Bert became Nito, much like Ernie is Nito. It was a thing from a book I had when I was a very small child, and it imprinted on me that some people you shouldn't try to be cool.
It was a board book?
Yeah, it was one of them little... It was about Sesame Street. Everybody loves Sesame Street.
Yeah, I had a board book about like a monster school or a monster factory or some shit. It wasn't the monster at the end of this book. It was a different one.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean...
But that was good too.
I considered that, but then assumed that if it were that, you would have said it.
Right.
Like I didn't think that I was the person who remembered a very common thing and you weren't.
Yeah.
I showed a lot of humility and also understanding of you.
And I think you're not getting enough credit for it. And that's why we've brought here today an adapter, a 3.5 to quarter-inch adapter for this headphone app that we spent 40 minutes perfecting.
Well, I'm just going to reach over right near the delicate cords. They have to be set up so perfectly, and so, the slightest jostle.
Just to let you guys in, we're using a Samson QH4 4-channel headphone amp to boost our audio from the Zoom to our headphones so we can hear ourselves while we're talking, and this thing is a piece of shit. We got 3.5 millimeter jack headphones that have to go into an adapter before they could go into the headphone jack, and it's a lot of interfaces to fuck up on an analog signal.
I'm excited that we are expanding our incredibly niche brand, sort of contracting even further to require like audio files. Like you now have to be that also. Like honestly, it's not just D&D. It's not just D&D. Which D&D it's not files. Just D&D. It has to be DM, and also you have to be interested in hearing DMs talk, and also whatever other bullshit. Really, really inclusive, accessible stuff. Like
I'm just writing up to our audience.
Book I remembered.
They're capable of understanding what a Samson QH4 4-channel headphone amp is. I'm just reading it off the model itself. But no, it's a hassle. But honestly, if we pivot to audio technology, that's a lot more broad. Tech podcasts are huge.
Are they?
Oh yeah, they're bigger than like most other kinds. I think maybe not true crime.
Jesus, I feel like we would get exponentially more actually emails though.
Oh yeah, no, it'd be a nightmare, and we'd hate it and die.
Like the best thing about our podcast is that our content is so it's often nebulous, and we admit when we don't know things. And then that way people don't get angry.
And often we're just making random shit up. So, I mean,
that's the name of the game, baby. And let's get right into the game.
Yeah. Well, you didn't do any D&D lately.
Actually, I did.
Oh, okay. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. We played over the weekend. It was really good.
How'd it go? You were last we met. You were on the second and third towers?
Yeah. And see here, this is a great example of between session adaptation. Now, It is my suspicion that initially we were going to do all three towers. However, when the first tower took like a whole evening, and I think Rich could tell we were flagging a little bit, the next time when we start our session and we're looking over at the other two towers, and one of them has an arcane magical bubble across the top, and it's like, you'd only be able to get in through the bottom. And the other has a fight on the top with one of the characters' moms, who's like the queen of the city. And so we're like, oh, she's taking care of that one. So that meant that while we were doing the other tower, the tower we went into, they took care of that other tower.
Hey.
So it meant that we only, there were three towers, but we only ended up doing two of them.
Classic truncation, a technique used in Harmon Quest because they spend 20 minutes. I'm sorry, that's extremely generous. 60 minutes looking at a door.
It's necessary. It was a good, and also we're bumping up. It was the end of a big thing, so we're bumping up to level 8, which means a second 4th level spell slot for yours truly, and also some ability score increases.
What do you think you're going to do with that slot?
Well, I had really good use of the blight spell. In this fact, I really enjoyed the blight spell. It's just got a really great. It's like necrotic energy. Drains all the moisture from them, and Rich lets us get a little flavorful in our descriptions, and I described using it on a merman as like I took his body like it was like a kitchen sponge and twisted all the moisture out of it. Nice. Unseen hands gripped him by the head and feet, and just twisted his whole body until it died.
That's good.
Yeah, it was good. So I think I might. The neat thing about the way Sorcerer Levels is, as you level up, you pick up more utility spells at the lower level,
right?
And keep your damage stuff at so you start taking or at least I do. I find myself, I'm like, okay, what's the big damage spell I'm going to get at this,
right? And
since you're also allowed to swap out one of your lower spells, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back. Maybe I don't need Agnazar's Scorching whatever,
sure,
and instead I can pick up like a good. Comprehend languages or something like that.
Yeah. Do you know what you're swapping out?
I don't yet. I'm going to take some more time. I gotcha. I think I'm probably going to pick up another 4th level spell for sure. And then I'm not sure I'm not sure we're going to swap out. I need to.
There's so many good 3rd level spells though.
There's some really good 3rd level spells.
Fly.
And shit, is that 3rd level?
I'm almost certain Fly is a 3rd level spell.
I don't find myself using my 3rd levels a lot. I think because that was the one that or maybe it's 2nd I don't use. I use my 1st levels a lot because that's Mage Armor and also the Catapult spell, which is one of my favorites.
Classic damage.
Flavor-wise, it's a lot of fun because, for instance, I shot half a lime into a water elemental, just put a little spritz in him, and it's still 3d10 damage.
Well, I mean, that should really give him some sort of bonus.
Yeah, it did a very
flavor.
Slight acid damage.
That's cool.
Yeah, when he was drowning someone. After that,
their eyes were really burning.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
I want to discuss something with you
about your game.
Yeah. So, like the next time we play, because Rich had been expressing that he had been talking about on Twitter about he really wanted to play D&D sometime, and I thought maybe I could step up, and so I had the idea that my character would DM a game in universe that the other characters are going to make characters and play in, and Rich will play as an NPC who is making a character. He's going to be one of our NPCs who will make a character, and Connell will be the DM. I thought that's a way I could do a one shot, but it could still, it could still be like we're playing our game.
Would the game be called like simulated reality? It's like, hey, let's do some wargaming of our lives.
Yeah, I definitely need to come up with some fun, flavorful meta things. I feel like that is, the obvious joke is to make it the mundane.
I think, there's this podcast called Hello from the Magic Tavern. It's kind of like if a D&D live play podcast was an improvised talk show, and they play offices and managers or whatever.
Yeah, that
joke.
Yeah, that's that kind of thing. Yeah, but the fun thing is I wanted to hash this out with you. So Connell's evil.
Sure,
my character is evil. He's not he wouldn't be a very nice DM.
Right.
But I don't want that to translate into an actual bad play experience, since the verisimilitude is that they're actually going to be playing.
Right.
I was thinking about doing and also it'd be nice if I could use something that already exists. So, I mean, the Tomb of Horrors is not actually very fun to play.
Never played it.
It's, it might be fun. I've listened to it and
who'd you listen to? Or what?
Oh wait, no. You know what? I've never actually seen it played through. I just know it's by reputation. So maybe that would be.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it truly.
Oh, I was thinking of adapting. Do you know Paranoia?
Yeah,
the game. So that's a game that where intentionally the game master plays this supercomputer that controls this post-apocalyptic underground society, and the computer is very it's your characters die a lot, so
you play as various agents that have jobs, right? Sometimes they have like tasks and they have different levels of clearance.
Yeah, but the main mechanic that I'd want to adapt is the 6-pack mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
So because your characters die a lot in that game, you get six lives.
Right.
Because they're supposed to be clones and they come in a 6-pack. So I thought something like that might be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know. What do you think? What's a good way to like be an evil DM character-wise without actually creating a bad time? I guess I'm the one with the question this week.
I mean, there's just like that. There's one interpretation of evil DM is a bad DM. But there's entirely a whole spectrum of interpretations where it could be a mediocre to find a good DM. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if someone wanted to bribe people or something and ingratiate themselves by like trying to learn about their fantasies and their desires, their innermost id-like desires, then they might just do a very dedicated, sensuous campaign that ends up learning about the innermost secrets of the players. And so that might be a very solidly, but it would be undertaken for utterly evil ends.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's truly what you want to execute. And then, you could justify it. There's all sorts of justifications.
Yeah.
But it's like you're at the end of the day, you're still crafting a gaming experience.
Yeah.
So that's what's first and foremost.
What if just the morality of the universe that they are playing in is very skewed?
I think that's cool as fuck.
Like it's because he doesn't think of himself as evil.
Right.
He thinks of himself as someone who is getting paid.
Right. So if like, I don't know, if the shopkeeper is just like, hey, help me out. And then they help you out and it's like, hey, get the fuck out of here. And then he pulls a gun or something. Then it's like, that's just like, but I don't know. That seems like it might be.
Weird. What if there's just like a really overblown self-insert who's just like swooping in and saving the day.
But that gets in the way of trying to furnish Rich with a fun play experience, which is
it shouldn't be all about
ostensibly
my joke.
the point.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
And also a break, because we're also not going to play for like a month after this. So, and since we just finished like a big arc, it didn't really make sense to like start a new thing or to like do our downtime right before.
Right. Would it be a one-shot?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well, as a one-shot, everything I've been saying doesn't really apply.
Okay.
I mean, not everything. I think these sensibilities still have merit, certainly, but it's less weight, like a lot less weight.
Yeah. Like, I feel like a joke can be sustained, like jokes in the campaign can be sustained over one night.
Yeah, 100%.
That would be untenable.
Yeah.
In the long term.
Because that's the flavor of the one shot.
Yeah, is that this is the thing he has made.
Right.
This character has made. And it's a fun character, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't go out of his way to hurt people, and he generally is going along with what's happening, but a lot of it is motivated out of self-interest, and he's very... It's basically my idea of what a bad person is who doesn't realize they're a bad person.
Sure.
Which is that they think they're inherently superior, and they think that the world, that things are owed to them, and that they owe nothing to anyone else, and that they are not obligated to help people who need their help, which is the opposite of what I believe.
Yeah. Anyway,
well, thank you for helping me hash this out.
I don't know that I did, but you're welcome. That was Helga Cruciform. No, I rolled a dice for Helga Cruciform if you want to do two names.
Okay.
Oh, it was three, actually. No, it was two. Sorry.
Okay, you first.
Frank Grimes.
Frank Grimes?
Fran Rhymes.
Malcazar the Sand Wizard.
Oh, damn. Oh, God, fuck. Fluke Style the Knave.
Longstraw.
Harold the Manor Keeper.
Old Dick.
Oh, well, let us know that Cohen won this round.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your response will not be canoned for dishonesty.
Right. Only I get to win.
Well, I mean, that's just the reality in this game, or in this episode, certainly.
It's true. I think we were supposed to put a poll up for last week's episode for the one that went up today, but I forgot.
We might be able to. Hurry, quick, grab the phone.
I just don't remember what it was.
I don't either. Well, it was who did one which.
Oh, okay. Well, we didn't do that.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. So how have you been? What have you been up to?
I've been fine. Just, podcasting.
Ain't you been running some game?
What?
Ain't you been playing some kind of game?
No.
I thought you'd been running a session.
No, I did that once and I talked about it, remember?
Yeah, but I thought it was an ongoing.
No.
Oh, okay.
It was like a beta test of Roll20.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought that was like going to be a thing. I thought you were like getting that going.
I mean, I don't know that it won't be a thing, but no, I don't think. I mean, I'm still trying to I want to run Waterdeep Dragon Heist.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were like doing that. I thought that was the ongoing.
I did a beta. Yeah. Yeah. So no, that was like a test, like because I wanted to see Roll20. And so I was like, well, I have this. Let's see. This is a perfect, I don't know. Anyway.
Well, I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Misunderstandings. Miscommunication. It turns out miscommunication causes most problems with humans.
Yeah. I was getting real flirty with miscommunication.
Oh no.
But
that should have been a Helga cruciform.
Yeah, miscommunication.
What's the segment we do? Answering questions?
Yeah. Okay, so I got a question for you.
Really?
Yeah, it's from Austin T-Rex. Oh, I know Austin. He's from the Discord.
Oh no.
Austin. Dear Spencer and Cohen, I hope you're doing well and thanks for making this awesome podcast.
You're welcome.
In my in-person D&D game, the DM is quitting due to how busy he is at work, which is reasonable. I want to take over as the new DM of the game. I have an idea for a story and I'm going to use the setting the old DM told me about, but I do with the character that I made. But I assume this is, I don't know what to do with the character I made. Mm-hmm. So my question is, what advice do you have for someone who becomes a DM in the game they played in?
Damn,
Thanks,
man.
Austin.
That's fucking deep,
I have seen this play out.
What'd you do? Or what happened, rather?
So it was right after 5th edition came out. And like literally all we had was the player's handbook to go off of. This was because that was the first thing that came out. And then it was the monster manual a few months later. And then the DMG a little bit after that.
So weird. When that was happening, I was like, you guys are fools and I'm not on board. And I eventually became on board, but
yeah, it ended up working. And I bet it worked better. Because they didn't ask people to buy $150 of books right out of the gate.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I could see it, but
show
me the tax returns.
Well, we had a DM who it was when I was in grad school and all the players were also grad students and the DM, and he ran like 3 or 4 sessions for us, but he was playing in another game and running 2 others, so it was too much for him. So he was bowing out. Mm-hmm. And somebody in the party just stepped up and became the DM. And what they did was, and he was great. He was I would consider him my first like real DM. Mm-hmm. Nigel, if you're listening, you are amazing. And I hope everything is going well with your digital humanities studies, particularly in Faulkner.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's very, very good DM.
Digital Faulkner.
Mm-hmm, that's the best kind. So what he did was he retired his character. Mm-hmm. So his character became sort of like the only example I can think of is Bosley from Charlie's Angels. Mm-hmm. But like, I guess like sort of like the assistant to the group, but not the leader, but they've got enough like acumen going on that they know what's going on. Also, one of the players had a character who died right before this happened, and he was mm-hmm. His character was that character's brother. Oh, so he was like, "Oh, I need to take some time off. This is really affecting me." And then he just hung out in the basement of our bar that our characters owned. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
In Shadowrun, there's a role called the Fixer, which is usually an NPC who acts as kind of like a helper character. They can get information, guns, they can sell illicit products. It's just this helper kind of NPC. Oftentimes, there will be a primary NPC in a campaign anyway, but the idea of making them kind of like that primary kind of helper NPC seems really cool.
Yeah, it worked really well. Two of our characters, his character and somebody else in the party had paired sending stones. So we were able to stay in communication with him back at the base, even when we were in like the Shadowfell or the elemental plane of air, and it'd be like, hey, this person came by and blah blah blah. So he was actually able to keep us like updated on stuff that would normally be downtime.
Right, like Chloe from 24.
Yeah, I haven't seen the television program in question, but
she calls in.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah. In Waterdeep, there's this character called Durnan and Mert who like were adventurers who go into Undermountain and then they come out rich and then they just start businesses and shit. And like your character could just like have this epic win and be like, I'm fucking cashing out, baby. And just like now they're hanging out, but like, and they're just like rich or whatever. They're, they're having the time of their lives, but they're like kind of just done. And so they're not necessarily longer willing to like risk their ass and like just give out stuff to the party. But they could be that role or just have fun. I don't know.
I would say a thing to do is like, don't have this character traveling with the party anymore.
That would be bad.
But it's also, if you want to keep them in, like if you're pretty far into this campaign, this is ideally situated to have this character be like this take a back seat but has your back kind of role.
Right. That's another thing that we should identify is that I think it can go bad, but if you try and make it not bad, it ends up being fine. A lot of times it's really easy just to have a character that just is there, and then if the combat's like then it's like, oh, this guy runs in and he has a knife now and he starts stabbing and he's just an extra body in combat. Or if it's not expedient, it's just like, oh yeah, no, he's just in the background, and if no one asks about him, don't worry about him. So that's something, if you really need his presence for whatever reason, that could, without overshadowing anything, but maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, this is also, you now have a character who is ideally situated to die tragically in some sort of sacrificial gesture at some pivotal moment.
That's cool.
So good luck, maybe think about that.
Mm-hmm. Think about it.
Oh, we were so helpful to Austin.
Oh, I love it.
Good work. Good work, us.
Good work, Austin T-Rex. Now, you know what that means, that we've answered question 1.
What is that? What happens after we answer question 1?
We execute loot table or brute fable segment.
All right. Begin segment. Draw card.
The bit where we roll dice to randomly determine a thing that we make up.
Everybody loves it.
Cards.
What did you roll?
Is it me going first?
Yes.
I rolled a 6.
You rolled
Magic. On the Discord.
And the card that you got was the moon reversed.
Oh, God.
Which confusion, fear, and misinterpretation. When dreams and fantasies come out to play, it becomes difficult to separate reality from illusion. Confusion reigns supreme here, and there's little understanding of what you can take for as true.
Do you know about what the moon not reversed is? It sounds like it's dream and fantasy based.
It's a like illusion, deception, misconception.
Awesome.
Yeah, similar stuff.
Yeah, so this is like we kind of delve in this space a fair amount, but it's like, it feels like it's a drug that makes it so like you trip balls and then some of those actually conjure themselves. So there's those Nistel's magical pigments or whatever, are crayons that let you draw like a I don't know, like a crossbow, and then it's a shitty crossbow that you pick up off the ground. And so it'd be kind of like that, but it's just like you'd have crazy like hallucinations and stuff, and a few of them would just kind of manifest as like a weird melted pear or some shit, and it's like, it's functionally useless, but I mean, it could be horrifying and cause you to like get catatonic or something, but I don't think it would be super effective. Like, it's not like if you hallucinated a giant monster, it would come and eat you or anything. It would just be like a weird like mess.
I like it.
It's moon juice.
Moon juice is good.
I don't even know what it is to even begin a pun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, what kind of drug is it?
It's a hallucinogenic
Okay, well, how is it imbibed? What does it look like in physical reality?
That's the thing, is that it's some sort of magical thing, right?
What it could be?
Well, I said it was magic, so maybe
it could just be weed.
Yeah, but that's not. Yeah, well, that counts. I mean, because we don't have like plant as like a sector of this, right? So yeah, so it's like, well, I don't know. I think it's like a weird glittery powder, but maybe you smoke it anyway as opposed to snorting it.
Okay. Yeah. What'd you go?
Like weird blue sugar. What's a good pun? I'm bad at them.
Fairy does.
Fairy does?
Like it is.
Fairy does.
Yeah. But it's a type of weed. It's a thinker. It takes you you go down a path to get there, but I like where we land.
Yeah, man. Fairy does.
All right. Very good. Okay, I rolled a 3. What's
Passing
that?
it to you.
I got a 3.
Arms and armor.
Oh yeah. Oh,
parentheses, dwarven dancing shoes.
Very good. I drew the King of Cups, which longtime listeners know is that's my personal card. That is the card that I identify with.
I thought it was.
Well, the King of Cups is the card that
the tower.
No, that is very insulting, and I'm very hurt. I do have a friend that every time they get a reading, they have drawn the tower, and they told me this. And then I watched it happen, and they were not drawing the cards.
Right.
And it was Kate doing it, and was doing it like for a lot of different people, giving them each a card. She did not do this. It was just a called shot that happened, and it was wild.
That's the tower for you.
Yeah, but we're not doing the tower, and we're doing the King of Cups, which is my card.
Your card, that's the King of Cups.
Compassion, control, and balance. A man whose greatest quality is his ability to control, balance, and master his emotions. He is not empty of feelings, but rather full of them. Only he understands when and where they're appropriate and beneficial and when they are harmful. He is a man of compassion, diplomacy, and generosity.
Damn.
Yeah. I associated this one because it was Kate has a Halloween deck where the different things are they're like pumpkins and ghosts and and pentagrams, and for this one it was it's the King of Ghosts.
The King of Ghosts,
which is like my Twitter thing. So so King of Cups, and it's arms and armor. Let's see. It's some kind of thing that helps you control your emotions. It's a mood ring.
Oh yeah.
But the way that it works is when you're having a mood, you can twist the ring clockwise to store the mood that you're having, but it dulls the mood significantly. Like if you're having a really good time, it like dulls it down a lot.
Right.
Like to the degree of like if you were really tired or if you hadn't been eating enough, just sometimes you don't have emotions. And then when you turn it back counterclockwise, you can feel the emotion. Like you can store it.
Yeah.
So
what if you have a big mood?
You can, you know what? You can store the same mood that you're having with no upper limit. Like if you're having like a good time, you can store that, and you can keep storing good times.
Oh God.
And then like just build up a lot of good times, and then like tantrically like release
I don't know. This is making me way too horny to keep podcasting.
but it could I would say it would not be for physical sensation. It would have to be like moods. Mental state.
I got you.
But maybe not just like happy or sad. It could also be like if you're
hungry. Yeah,
hungry, or if you're like really inquisitive. Like maybe you could get advantage, like mechanically maybe you could. There are a couple of different things. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but my favorite mood is hungry.
I definitely feel like a barbarian could use it to store their rage and have a little more control over it.
I think it's fucking badass as shit. Well, I mean, shit's not. I mean, it's fucking great.
Thanks. It's like shit from an unattractive ass.
It's like shit from a good shit factory.
I love those.
What are you going to call it?
I hope this town really went to hell once the good shit factory closed down. Oh, it's called a mood ring.
Oh yeah, no, that works.
It's I worked backwards from the name, but I like what I came up with.
Yeah, it's like, this guy's selling mood rings. Fuck that guy.
The thing is though, there could be an economy to them, like you because somebody else could feel the mood.
Oh, you store a mood and sell the mood.
Yeah, so you could like sell the mood.
So like there'd be a run on big moods.
Yeah, and if you think about it, if like your mood ring company was doing really well because of how much people liked your your happiness, but maybe you start making more money, and then, maybe you turns out it doesn't make you happier, and then your company starts to do badly, and then you're trapped in a loop.
Or you can like do a bunch of fairy does and then store that mood and then sell it to someone.
Yeah,
instead of selling them fairy does.
Yeah, because it's legal.
Right. It's a legal high.
I feel like I'm really into the idea of. I feel like this is a good. These are both good campaign hits.
Oh,
like you come to a town where these rings exist, and
it's a fad in the city.
Yeah, it's like, and then you find out how they're being manufactured, and you.
It's just slurm.
It's just damn it!
It's just a big
again.
A big slug is just spitting out rings instead of slime.
I guess I'm picturing a beholder who is like, it turns out it's like, oh, this the beholder behind everything, and he's got like 10. He's got a ring on each eye stalk.
Oh yeah,
and it's like he's just blissed out.
Yeah.
But he's got a ton of prisoners.
His like pupil is so dilated, like his main pupil.
Yeah, like maybe you come across like some prisoners, but they're being kept high and
their moods are being stored,
and they're being treated really well.
Yeah,
but they're not really feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like typical beholder prisoners. Do beholders even take prisoners?
They do all
just
sorts.
Kill things.
They can charm people with an eye beam, so they can make willing slaves very easily. And they sometimes take a caretaking staff. They have a lot of staff that they retain, and they also like cooks to make them food because they're voracious eaters.
Yeah, they're like basically super hedonistic, right?
Well, yeah, that changes. Like they're definitely, yeah.
I think arrogant is more what I was thinking of, right? Like, aren't beholders pretty arrogant?
They're arrogant and they're paranoid and they're and they're also insane. Like, so they're crazy, but they are arrogant. Yeah.
I guess the beholder I know best is good old capital X, the boy, the legend, the goat, Xanathar.
Which I guess it's called the Xanathar, apparently.
Well, the name of the book is Xanathar's Guide to Everything.
I know. It should be called The Xanathar's Guide to Everything, apparently.
He doesn't...
By their own book.
I love Xanathar. He has a little fish.
Oh, yeah.
He loves that fish.
Yep.
I'm just thinking about Xanathar now.
His fish is the key to his emotions.
He cares a lot about that fish.
You take that fish hostage.
I wouldn't recommend it.
And that's a metagaming trick. For the table. This has been Spencer and Cohen's metagaming tricks for pre-prepared content.
Pro strat for what is that? Probably Dungeons of Waterdeep or something.
Yeah, Dragon Heist.
Dragon Heist, yeah.
And as always, red dragons are immune to fire. So don't try it.
Don't try it on bronze dragons either. But also, why are you fighting a bronze dragon, you idiot? They're good boys.
Be friends. Anyway, it's time for a break.
Yep.
Hey, Cohen.
Hey, Spencer.
How often does this happen to you? You're at a party or a big fight.
All the time.
And you're all out of punch.
Oh, man.
You know what I'm saying?
I was at a Rumble last week, and you know me, I'm always at the Rumbles. And I'm going to,
they call you the Big Bopper.
They call me the Big Bopper, and then they find out why they call me that.
All those bops.
Bop. Anyway, I run out of punch at fights a lot. Please continue premise.
That's crazy, because I got just the thing for you. It's Johnson & Johnson's canned punches.
Yeah?
It's perfect. Here, check this out.
Ow! Fuck. Right in my snoot.
You got yourself a nice little tomato nose there.
I wish.
Here, you want one?
No, you've bopped me in the snoot with your product.
Here, try and hit me with one.
All right. Oh, it hit me again.
Yeah, that's the one you give to your enemies.
Damn it. So you're saying that they have both direction, they have both pranks and weapons.
They got canned punches and trick canned punches.
From the makers of canned punches.
Johnson & Johnson guarantee at least 5 pounds of pressure in every canned punch or your money back.
That's not very much.
What would be a better number? I'm bad at math. I can't read this number. It might not say 5.
I actually don't see. I always think like it's like, is it 5 pounds? Is that like if you held I always think like, is that if I held a 5 pound weight up and dropped it? But it's probably not that.
I don't think so. I think it's way more than 5 pounds.
I think that would be way more than 5, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like 5 pounds is if it weighed 5 pounds and it was just on my hand.
Right.
Which would not hurt very much.
Yeah, no, but I don't think that's, I don't know how, well, I do. I know how impulse, anyway. That's complicated, like all the physics of pressure and stuff. I mean, it's not complicated. It's like force per area.
I gotta say, I'm really impressed that they included this discussion in the advertising copy that they insisted that we read.
Well, it's important to break down for the non-punching audience the in and outs of canned punch physics.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
How else are they going to understand what all these 5 pounds of punching action can unleash?
This is starting to feel like a commercial where it's like there's a nested second advertisement. And I guess I should have just run with that bit. Mm-hmm. It's like having trouble knowing simple facts, like how much pounds of pressures are. Go to DeVry University.
Yeah. So a pause icon appears on the screen, and we zoom out to reveal me and Cohen have been watching television, and that's why you need to get TiVo. It has the ability to fast forward through terrible commercials like that. TiVo, order today. Use the promo code Goblin Flakes.
Goblin Flakes. They're there when you're not.
Goblin Flakes. Flakes.
They have object permanence.
Goblin Flakes.
And we're back.
I sure did enjoy that product.
I enjoyed that whole suite of products.
Whoa, there was a whole suite?
Uh-huh. Well, I think it was the first time that was actually true.
Oh, man, that was a lovely suite.
It was
sweet.
It was sweet. All right, dude, what's next? Do we do a question?
It's time for question 2, according to my flow chart.
Oh, okay. So does it? I see.
I got one here.
Oh yeah. So you're making what is known as a power play for being the question king.
I mean, that's one way to look at it.
It's how I'm looking at it.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, what do you got?
All right. Nicholas Ditrio asks, hey, Spencer and Cohen, I have never played D&D, but I'm very interested. I'm not a real big fan of the old fantasy worlds like Middle-earth because I feel I'm not really familiar enough with the creatures and ideas enough to fully dive in, but I do love Star Trek. And Cohen watching Deep Space Nine gave me the idea of Star Trek-themed D&D game. Would this be a bad idea for a first-time player to try and get started? Would it be hard to DM if I've never played before? Would it be possible to incorporate sci-fi concepts like time travel and mirror universes? Any tips or advice would be awesome. Love the podcast. Thanks. Bye.
All right. So we got a lot of questions here, and I think we should attack them bit by bit.
Oh, damn.
Let's go in reverse order.
Okay. Any tips or advice would be awesome.
Okay. Let's skip that one.
Would it be possible to incorporate sci-fi concepts like time travel and mirror universes?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, it is very possible to do that.
Imminently.
You can definitely do that. One tip for mirror universes is establish your universe a little bit before you flip into a mirror one, because then evil dark versions of things and inverses have more punch when you're used to the thing that they're a riff on.
So in a mirror universe, is that like everyone's evil in Star Trek?
Not necessarily. They did it on. I've just seen Deep Space Nine's the only one I've seen.
Oh, right.
The way it's described, somebody says, is the players are the same, but the roles have been switched around. So a character who is like money grubbing and craven in the good universe might be noble and heroic in the evil one.
Yeah,
or
I gotcha.
Everything might be a little bit darker, and maybe the bad guys are trying to help, and then the characters that you've become used to as the good guys might be bad.
Yeah, so that's just a conceit.
Yeah, so like wait until you've established the characters a little bit, just for that one.
Yeah, time travel you could work, however, but also,
you could do time travel on any story. Time travel on Mad Men.
Right.
Just go back in time.
But then the pillars of the problem with time travel is that you kind of need set points, and then you need to understand what the passage of time does to it. So in a completely invented world, you will have to focus on what you want to focus on and be changing, because otherwise it's just, you're not time traveling, you're space traveling. You're just going to somewhere else, you know?
Yeah.
It's functionally not time travel.
You definitely want some good descriptions, and maybe something like an old clock tower that in the present time isn't working, but in the past is working.
Hell yeah. Play Oracle of Ages, the Zelda game.
Yeah. That's a good one to work off of. Okay, so stepping back again.
Would it be hard to DM if I've never played before?
It's not easier than if you had,
right,
but not impossible. I'd say definitely read that dang Dungeon Master's Guide and work off of some. So this is where we're gonna run into a clash, because my advice is to work off some prepared material.
I'm about to open up this canned punch.
Yeah, because as you know, I ran a D&D thing with the Sonic in the Sonic universe.
Right.
So here's the thing. When I had them go inside a character's brain and the character's brain that they went into was like an old medieval castle, suddenly it got a lot easier to like design Dungeons and Dragons, because I wasn't having to take an existing thing and swap a stat block, or like figure out, okay, how do I adapt this pit trap into being a different kind of, well, that's a bad example. It's like a
space pit trap.
The thing is, the game is definitely designed for like medieval fantasy-esque stuff happening.
And magic.
And I would say that you can definitely do it. You can absolutely do it. I think that if you're super committed to doing Star Trek, I think that there are maybe other game systems that might fit a little better.
Right.
Like a sort of a Powered by the Apocalypse, Lasers and Feelings, a system that is run by, it was named after some stuff by some friends of mine.
Oh, damn.
Who are in the Double Clicks. We'll link to Lasers and Feelings. My buddy Rick Budd, his Tempting Fate every week. It's his streaming game that he does, and it's really fun. They play Lasers and Feelings is a system that is super easy to adapt to narratives, because you either roll lasers, which is like your character either is like they're more like intelligence or feelings, and so they try to do things with their brains or with their charm and stuff.
Right.
And I'm describing it badly, but it's it's very simple, and you only need like 3d6 ever. And characters can be real simple. So if you're committed to that, it's super easy. Like Rick's game is like it's a different skin like every week, or they'll do like 2-parters. Like I was on his show, and it was a Jurassic World one, and another time it was a 2-part Hitchhiker's Guide. But the system is very adaptable to improv. It's very improv friendly, but you can still have like stakes and successes or fails, or succeeding at a cost, that kind of stuff. But I would say it is not super easy to adapt 5th edition D&D to a sci-fi setting.
No, and even there's sci-fi settings, and there's Star Trek also, because like there's there are rules for modern weapons like rifles that are findable for like 5th edition pretty readily, but that isn't enough to make it Star Trek. Like that just adds just guns, and that's it. Like it doesn't add the skill set to use computers or spaceships or repair things, or if there's robots or whatever the hell. And so all that skill stuff is just really hard to map. You can just kind of hand wave it or do it your own way, but at that point it's like you're almost using less of the system. And you could do that. You could just use the D20 mechanic if you want, but so D20 modern might be something, but I think the Lasers and Feelings is solid. What you said, Powered by the Apocalypse, is probably a closer match to what you're going for. Starfinder, I don't know if I'd recommend. That's kind of complicated for a beginner.
There's probably also, I would bet, there are probably Star Trek.
There definitely are. I believe there's 2 or 3 that are official-ish.
Yeah, I would say that if you want to DM, start with, if you want to DM and you're nervous about DMing and you're not super familiar with the game, I think that your first D&D experience being you DMing your homebrewed Star Trek setting that attempts to adapt mechanics that you haven't played before or witnessed play before is setting yourself you're setting yourself a steep road to climb. I'm not saying you can't do it. You might have a great time, and if like
it's like trying to buy a car and then convert it into a truck.
Yeah. It's
like, yeah, you could do that.
And also you've never driven before, and it's like you're going to use this to get your license,
or at least you've never built a truck before.
You are creating an intersection of a lot of difficulty and cutting off your access to accessible help. This is sort of like, this would be a challenge. It's like, this is something we might do, like, hey, how would you adapt this? And we might kick that around, and then ultimately where I would land would be, man, it would be hard to satisfyingly do a Star Trek setting that didn't with D&D.
Yeah, and I'm more than happy to try and homebrew up mechanics to make a system work, but this seems like one of the few that it just doesn't seem worth the effort, unfortunately.
Yet. I'd say setting it as your first D&D task is a lot.
Right.
I think that there are. Okay, let me give you an example of like the kind of thing. So, I'm gearing up to run, Horde of the Dragon Queen. I've got my 4 players who are going to play. Got their characters. We're working on character sheets. We're getting ready for our first session. So I'm reading the book. I can Google. I've looked up like what are problems that people have had when running this,
right?
Because I'm a little nervous. I've never really done a long form prepared material thing before, but people have played it for a couple of years. So at this point, there are a lot of resources and opinions and homebrew fixes that people have. Like there's a common thing, I guess, in the first chapter, because it sort of requires that the characters fight a dragon that they might not normally do.
Right.
And a lot of people have identified this problem, but if you're just reading the book, that's not really apparent. And if I were making that material up myself, I would have no way to know that.
Yeah.
The thing about making up material yourself is you have to do a lot of improvisation, which if you've never DM'd before, you might not be as comfortable with.
Yeah, and honestly, that's for me one of the scariest things is not being comfortable with having to improv is what drives a lot of my fear and preparation going into it. And I think what intimidates a lot of people from getting into it. So like if you want to lessen the intimidation of getting into it, it's an obstacle there.
Yeah.
But I think it'll work, just not D&D 5e.
I think you'll have a fun time if you set yourself less steep challenge.
Yep. Just play D&D or just find any other system and then just do Star Trek a lot easier. Yeah. I think will be great.
And we'll link to Lasers and Feelings in the description.
Lasers and feelings. All right. What happens next? Consulting the chart. Question 3.
Oh, is it question 3?
It may be.
But that was the question that I had ready. You read. So do you have another question?
Oh, yeah, I do. This one was the one I thought we answered. And if we did, let us know. Benjamin Stone writes, "Hi, Spencer. I sent this one to your..." Oh, I'll skip that.
An insulting voice.
I had a question. Have you ever tried any of the D&D lite systems? Yeah, like Dungeon World or Beyond the Wall. If so, what did you think of the major pros and cons were, and why did you keep returning to D&D? If not, what are the rules? What is it about the rules of D&D that keeps you loyal? So, have you tried any D&D lite systems like Dungeon World or Beyond the Wall?
I don't think this question was addressed to me.
But I'm addressing it to you.
No, are you intending to humiliate me and put me in my place?
No.
Before you hold. I mean, I've done the one that I mentioned. I've done some Powered by the Apocalypse.
We're answering questions. It's not an attack.
No, I'm just feeling very put on the spot.
I've never done either of these systems. I don't think I've done any. Like I've done very few. I can think of like Fate is one of the only. Oh yeah, and I did Exalted like one game.
And Shadowrun.
Yeah, I continue to not remember that happening. Again, I believe it happened, but it's just not in my head as something that did happen. But yeah, it is true to say that. I remember I read the book. It took a long time. I read it multiple times too. It's a hard book to read. Anyway, never done it. But let's guess at what the major pros and cons are.
Let's not.
Dungeon World is definitely a lot more open to improvisation and just kind of going with the flow. Everyone says that it would be more suited to the Harmontown experience, which I don't buy, but people say that.
Yeah, but I think people also enjoyed the intersection of unfamiliarity with the rules.
Right. So Dungeon World, I'd say, is a game that's more approachable for a group that plays games, but maybe not D&D games, because it's formatted more like a game where there's moves and turns and things that you can do in an instruction sheet that you read to a group of players. And so playing it feels a little bit more like opening a boxed game and then playing it together as a group. And so maybe that's a strength that you can leverage for Dungeon World. Is I kind of like that, but that's also what I identified as the reason that Dan and stuff wouldn't be good to play it with, because then I'd have to then teach them this whole game that's not D&D. And then they'd like get mistaking that, and then they'd try to be playing D&D. I don't know. To me, that's like adding an extra layer of complication on people who aren't super. Yeah. Anyway, but
who are already
not.
Yeah.
So, but for a normal group of kind of game people, the kind of people who might listen to this podcast, I think that's a lot better sell. I don't know what Beyond the Wall is at all. So
wow,
there you go.
We're really showing our hours of research that goes into this podcast.
We could research it and say what we heard about, but that's not super valid, because it'd probably be more valuable just to research it yourself. Yeah. You'll get better information. But what is it about the rules of D&D that keep us loyal?
Hey, you know what I love? Bounded accuracy. Yes.
Oh my God.
Spencer picked me up today, and I got in the car, and I said, I'd like to talk to you about bounded accuracy. And then we talked about it for a while.
We're going to talk to you about it.
Bounded accuracy is so good. Basically, it's a not marketing approved term that basically describes the fact that D&D is in its 5th edition, right, and it spent 4 editions figuring out how to stop being a single-player war game. Then bounded accuracy basically means that it's why your characters don't get like +4 swords and +9 daggers and shit like that they used to. And now there's a limit. The numbers are a lot lower in general, which means that weaker things can hit stronger things every now and then.
Right. So in original editions of D&D, various stats like THAC0 or armor class, base attack bonus, and then the items that you got, magic items, magic armors, magic weapons, they made it so your stat bonuses just kind of steadily ticked upward every level you gained as you got stronger. And that in the D&D world with the rolls made it so that things that are a 10 DC, like to power creep that up, that would now be a 20 DC is just a standard DC for a normal character. And so that play style made it very swingy, that if something wasn't matched perfectly to the right level, it was either obscene or just a cakewalk. And so it just made it really feel like you had to play in the right depths. Otherwise, it wasn't a good experience. And in 5th edition, it's a lot different because they've like accounted for that a lot better in the numbers that formulate the final rules that players are making, right?
Yeah. One of the big advantages of it is in previous editions, you sort of had for a group of level 4, level 5 characters, you had sort of a thin slice of all the monsters that would be a good fight for them.
Right.
Because anything that was weaker than that literally couldn't hit them.
Right.
And anything that was too much stronger than that, they could not hit, period.
Right.
They just could not physically damage it. And now
you roll dice.
Now the dice, like you'd roll the dice, but the numbers that were being added to that D20 were so obscenely high.
That's all that mattered.
That the D20 itself was not really that relevant unless you got a critical fail or a critical hit.
And I played a lot, and that truly was the case. You didn't really, like, the dice either did what you expected or you're like, come on, I got cheated. Like, it was never like, oh, a randomness based game. And so it's such a weird play experience compared to the ideal.
That D20 for the D20 to matter. There were very specific things that you could be fighting where the 1 to 20 was representing a range, because like these huge numbers had been of bonuses and armors had been matched up specifically to allow for this D20 to matter. But now Now the D20 always matters, and everybody can kind of attempt anything. Like you don't need a plus 22 to Arcana to make an Arcana check. Like you might be able to do something.
Yeah.
It also means that like you can have goblins come in and theoretically menace some level 10 characters if there's enough goblins.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about it, is kind of how reality works. Like, yeah, they can do like a huge spell that would kill like a jillion of them. But if a bunch of goblins come in and stab your characters and they're not doing anything, they'll eventually be killed.
And that's because the accuracy has been bounded.
Yeah. They bounded that accuracy.
Yeah, but I mean, that's truly, they looked at the numbers a lot and they made sure it all works a bit. And we were talking about that. You just read, as someone who plays a lot, you just read these numbers and they just feel a lot better. It doesn't feel scary and doesn't feel pitiful. Everything just feels good and within a realm that's dangerous and functional. And I really like that. I like D&D just because it's like kind of the Godfather, you know, it's like, it's the one. It's like Coke. It's like anyone can pick something that's like better and has reasons, like, oh, I like Mountain Dew or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's just the winner. It's Coke, it's McDonald's, you know, like just roll with it. Like these games are dynamic enough to meet the needs and to shift to accommodate what you want. And so the one that has the most appeal and can draw the most people in, I think, is just the most valuable because it just works, and then you shape it to your whims. You know, so that's what I like about D&D.
I feel very blessed to have come into this system, to have started playing this game kind of when they got it all figured out.
They really did. I mean, and and like I said, I think I said this episode, I was ready to be mad about 5th edition because they staggered the books. I was like, this is a weird, cynical way to be publishing. But like, it really just, everything is just really well done. And it's I don't know, credit where credit's due, I guess.
A quick side thing on bounded accuracy that I really like. So if your max attribute bonus that you can get added to like your rolls is +5. So and that's if you have 20 in a stat, you're getting +5 because it's every 2 that's over 10, and you can get that on your first level. Mm-hmm. Your character can be the physically strongest that they're ever going to standard be at first level, and that's just neat because it's like Aragorn didn't need to be 20 times stronger at the end of the story than he was at the beginning, because that makes how he was at the beginning seem pitiful. And it's have you been watching Dragon Ball Super?
No.
Okay. So,
but it's just like when Goku's hair. Nope.
Okay. So
I tried.
I would say that what happened in 4th edition or 3rd edition is very similar to what happened in Dragon Ball Z, which is that it focused on like Goku, his power level goes up and his power level goes up. But as soon as they put a number on how strong the character was, the number was the only thing that mattered.
Right.
And it meant that it's like, oh, well, Frieza has a power level of 1 million. So Goku's got to get strong enough that his power level is that high. But it means that everybody who you've established their power levels obviously can't even scratch this enemy. But
unless they can transform in some way.
Right. So by the end, which all the functional in-world thing that does is raise their power level number.
Right.
Dragon Ball, but by the end of the series, all of these characters who had been collected along, like Tien and Krillin and Piccolo, can't contribute at all.
Yeah.
But in Dragon Ball Super, they're making it back like the old Dragon Ball. And it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, everybody's been working out a lot, so everybody can be in the tournament.
That's cool.
And they're like, oh,
that is what it feels like.
Yeah, well, Krillin, he's, all of a sudden, like, Krillin's going to be in the tournament. They're like, well, he's really tricky because he's got a lot of experience. Mm-hmm. He's been fighting, he's been in all these battles. So it's Gohan might have more raw strength, but Krillin's got the tricks. And it's like, oh, shit, Krillin's a rogue and Gohan's a fighter.
Damn.
That's neat.
That sounds fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
I've been trying to check it out, but I only saw like the subtitled ones, and I don't like the Dragon Ball Z voices in Japanese.
No, I they might be great, but I've been watching this show since I was a child, and Piccolo needs to sound like Piccolo.
And what's the guy? Chris Sabat.
Yeah,
he's got to be
brings
there.
The heat.
Yeah.
Piccolo and Vegeta. He's both the fathers.
So that answers Benjamin Stone's question
about why
bounded
I like
accuracy.
Dragon Ball Super.
Oh,
you're welcome.
The question was, what is bounded accuracy? No, I think that was good. I certainly enjoyed it. We're at an hour, and 1 minute. Do you want to do animals?
Maybe a quick one.
Oh, yeah. Let's do a quick animal. And you know what it's quick animal?
What?
I don't know. Have you thought of anything? I had one. Shit.
What's the thing where it's all a bunch of rats? It's the monster that's just a bunch of rats.
A swarm of rats?
Swarm of rats.
Okay. So I just again, brain connection, just to say it. A rat king is when a bunch of rats, or more than one rat, gets their tails stuck together, tangled together, and they start to fuse together in a disgusting, horrific thing. And then they become just attached rats, the same way like a two-headed snake or whatever is like, I guess got two heads, got to deal with this fucking thing.
Okay, but what if instead of that, what if they kept merging and then like two rats are twice as big but also twice as smart as one rat, and then they keep merging together? I guess this is a little similar to this Displaced Beast from last time, but it's like eventually it's like there's the Rat King, who is just this small, very erudite like king.
Right.
Like he's like very noble and beautiful. He's like an ermine cloak.
Yeah. He's like a rat folk, but he's made out of rats.
Yeah. He's and there's this whole society. There's lesser nobility who are just made of less rats.
Okay. Yes. Great. So, okay, there's a concept called the worm that walks. It exists in a bunch of different forms and stuff, but generally it's like a mage can kind of become a lich, except instead of becoming like a dead body or whatever, he puts his consciousness into like just a bunch of evil worms, and so they just kind of form his like body, but you can they can crawl into a hole and then reform, and so you can kind of discorporate. And so it's kind of like that, but with rats, and it's not like a weird evil wizard. It's like a race of these people that are amalgam rats. What do the rats do when they're not being a person?
I was thinking that they actually it's like they started off, they literally physically, it's become like the Rat King would be like, oh wait, did you see Men in Black 3?
Nope.
Not many people did. There was one, it wasn't very good, but there was one effect that was kind of neat, which was that the guy was kind of like made out of fingers.
Right.
And most of the time he just looked like a guy, but sometimes he would get angry and you would see kind of like fingers ripple across like his skin, or he'd stomp the ground and like fingers would come out of his feet and stuff. It's like he was loosely held together fingers. So I would think like a Rat King, the Rat King would be like, he would sort of seem to suggest a lot of rippling fur, and like you would like see little flashes of eyes and white teeth across his chest, like stars winking in the dark. Right. That kind of thing. And like maybe his hair would be made of the tails.
But so these would be like that. But how would they come together then? So like how would one of those be born? Because it seems to have a sense of identity, but is at the same time made. So is it like something that like a magical thing that combines the rats, or do the rats kind of just give in to becoming a thing?
I think it would be a combination of those. It would be like probably just some like magical sludge runoff from the Alchemist Guild that goes into the sewer has accidentally bonded like a Rat King.
It's created like combinant consciousnesses of rats almost.
Yeah, to the point where like, and then this keeps, this keeps happening, and then finally a threshold gets crossed where one is like almost like, because I mean a rat has a sense of at least self-preservation, and human consciousness is just a terrified rodent's self-preservation dialed up to 1,000.
Right. Yeah, no, my question is just what goes from 1,000 rats into operating as a unit? And a magical sludge, that works. Definitely.
I would think it'd be a gradual process too.
Right. So they slowly start becoming more kind of connected and hive-mindy or something.
Yeah, and moving more.
Operating as a unit, an organism.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. And then they form a society of erudite nobility.
Yeah, and like at the bottom level of that society would just be like the singles. Or singletons, which would be just like single rats.
Okay.
That have not been, those are sort of the undercurrent.
That's what I was missing in this cosmology. No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. So it's like a whole rat society, whereas like you can conglomerate.
Yeah. And like the goal, the goal of, and like single rats wouldn't be smarter than, they would just be a rat.
Right.
But they might get swept up into, some climber. Might have just enough that he starts to like put together, other rats, and then trying to get smarter.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the Rat King would always be like, he'd have to judge like, the usefulness of these secondaries who can maybe challenge him, or maybe they could just merge. He would want to always keep 51% of all rats,
right, to maintain the board leader or board.
Yeah, exactly.
Board member. That's the word. I couldn't think of that.
Controlling interest. Controlling interest.
Yeah, great, awesome. I love it. Form of rats.
Yeah, this is fun.
Hell yeah,
I like it.
We've done it. You could use it in your campaign. Works great in a city, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, yeah. Man, I was reading about kobolds.
Mm-hmm.
They're so cool.
Kobolds are cool. We should revisit them sometime.
There's some cool stuff in Volo's Guide to Monsters on how to roleplay them.
Let's just plug Volo's Guide to Monsters. Really fucking cool book. I read that over the holiday break. Really fun. Really fun to read.
Wasn't the kobold stuff really cool?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, it was so great.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It made a lot of sense. Their tunnels and stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. Like their society.
Yeah.
It has like a weird nobility to it. It's neat.
Well, here's the real fail mail is I don't want to do fail mail. I just want to go home.
Yeah, me too. I'm tired and hungry.
Yeah, sorry guys. It's just hopefully this is a decent episode and it's not bad.
I think it's pretty good.
And hopefully if you like Star Trek,
sorry.
You'll deal with it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm at the
Sixler.
No, what is it? At Jack.
No, you're not.
Yep. At Jack.
No. Well, I have to shoot you in the knee.
Oh no. My knee.
Now you've done it. Now you've provoked me into hurting.
No,
you.
don't reach for that canned punch.
Me again.
Oh no.
Again, it happened to me instead.
Oh boy.
It truly was funnier the third time it happened.
Mastery is manual.
Looks like we booked it again.